Guys, that is Whitney Gray. She is Multiple Sclerosis, which I think is one of the most creative names I've ever seen.
Thank you so much.
For a username. I really like it because you have multiple sclerosis and you use kind of nutrition and lifestyle types of things to help control that. So
I think etymology-wise, it's probably not good. I don't know enough about etymology to know why, but I think it translates poorly. But when I first made it, I just went on Google to see if anyone else was using it. 0 results. I was like, I'm using that.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, it says everything. And of course, as a nerd, I kind of got it right away. I do see
Thank you.
See where people would have trouble, like sclerosis.
Well, I say on my tagline on my website is you don't have to say it out loud. So
hey, I love saying it. Sclerosis has a nice little ring to me. It always has. But I was telling everybody before you came on the air, I've known you for a little while. We met in the Paleo community back when Paleo was a thing. It's not so much a thing as it once was.
Ancestral Health Symposium at Harvard, I think.
Right. That was 2012 when the Harvard one happened. And yeah.
So 10 years. Decade. 10 years.
Decade. Like, yikes. But like, to me, there are certain people that stand out. And you were one of those to me. I got to hang out with you for a week at a retreat that you were a part of helping out with.
Oh, no, I own that. That was my retreat.
Yeah.
With Paul.
Sorry, I didn't mean to dismiss your role in it. But let's just say, yes, you were an integral part in it, and I'm glad to know you owned it and anything. So the people that were there were just kind of like showing up to your hard work. So I'm glad to hear that. So.
Yeah, it was such hard work that I never wanted to be diminished for me.
Yes. I not mean to do that. That would be like somebody coming on my podcast and saying, yeah, Jimmy was kind of a part of it.
Well, I mean, Paul was
mine. It's mine.
Paul was obviously the draw. But
yeah, Paul Jaminet, back in the day, The Perfect Health Diet, I guess was his book.
Yes.
And he had a very interesting protocol, and I was the keto low carb guy, and he's like, Jimmy, come check out what I do, and I did, and it was interesting. I love being this ever evolving nerd that just likes to soak in new information as it becomes available. And at that time, the whole idea of kind of resistant starches and different protocols were out there, and I was willing. I've always been willing and open to.
I know. I love that.
And as have you evolved from kind of a Perfect Health Paul Jaminet style to what you're doing now, which is more of kind of a carnivore approach, which was really intriguing to me, Whitney, when I heard you say that you've embraced carnivore.
Yeah.
Before we get into what you're doing now and what we're here to talk about today, tell your story about getting MS, and when did it happen, and how have you, previous to finding nutrition, tried to deal with it?
Sure. It happened 2 weeks before my wedding, so it was probably all the stress that brought it to the surface. But I was easily diagnosed, which is not the usual experience. I think people usually spend years trying to get a diagnosis, but
is it misdiagnosed? Is that why? Did they think it's something else?
For other people, I think for people who take it a long time, their symptoms are so vague. When you go to a doctor and you just say, I'm tired, I'm really tired.
Yes.
There's just so many, and there's no blood test for it. There's no definitive diagnostic test for it, except for the MRI, of course. And even the MRI can be misleading because the plaques on your brain are what people are looking for, or what doctors are looking for the diagnosis. But it's an elusive diagnosis. But I was lucky because I went to a really savvy ophthalmologist, and he saw in my eyes optic neuritis and immediately suspected MS, told me to go get an MRI, sent me to a neuro-ophthalmologist at Duke, which I was really lucky that I went to all these really good, savvy doctors. Yeah. And I mean, I wish it could have taken a little longer because it was my wedding. I mean,
Whitney, just point of clarification. So MS is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune.
Theorized to be an autoimmune disease. I theorized to be an autoimmune disease. It's actually not technically anything. It could be an allergy. It could be autoimmune. It could be so many things. But since your autoimmune system does attack your nervous system, it is most popularly considered an autoimmune disease.
Okay, so it's an attack on the nervous system. Because, yeah, usually when people hear autoimmune of like the pancreas, that's type 1 diabetes. Autoimmune of the thyroid, that's Hashimoto's. So this is an attack, autoimmune on your nervous system.
Correct.
That kind of defines-ish what MS is.
Yeah. Yep. That's the best way. And it was confusing to me to not be able to find a classification, and it is most popularly considered an autoimmune disease, but technically it is not, apparently.
Right. Well, the first time I ever heard MS was the Jerry Lee Lewis telethon that would come on when I was a kid, and they'd stay up all night singing songs, doing stage acts, and what?
Right. I said
right.
Yes.
So it's and they would raise all this money, and I would always think, okay, what are they raising the money for? Drug therapies? And so drug therapies is probably what they tried to put you on first.
Yes. The doctor, the neuro-ophthalmologist that I went to at Duke came in and threw a starter pack of the Rebif in my lap. Threw it, which turned me off immediately.
Wow.
At that moment, I was like, I'm not doing this. So it took me a long time to admit to myself that I was going to have to go on medication, which was about a year into my diagnosis, because things were rapidly digressing, like just getting bad. My legs were getting weak, and I was just feeling bad. And so I was ready to go on this infusion, a monthly infusion. But at the same time, in a parallel way, I was hearing about this diet, Paleo, because my sister was really involved in CrossFit. So I was hearing it through her, and she was trying to tell me that all these people at her gym were eating this way and I should try it. And of course I rejected that. I'm such a rebel rejecter. I rebel myself right into problems usually. So anyway, that sat with me for a good 8 months, and then it came down the knowledge of the diet, and then it came down to either going on the medication, and I just did not want to go on the medication. All I could see were a low 30% efficacy rate and a high, you can get this thing called PML. There were so many side effects. I did not want to go on the medication. So I was like, I'm going to give this diet thing that my subconscious was percolating on for all these months. I said, all right, I'm going to try the diet and give it 30 days, and then I'll decide about the medication. And within 2 weeks, my symptoms were so improved. A lot of them were just gone. There was no question that I was just going to stick with the diet, which my neurologist was horrified, could not believe that I had gotten so close. I was about to do the medication, and I was then rejecting it. And he was just horrified. So it took, that was 10 years, more than 10 years ago, 11, almost 12 years ago, that I started having to do the pushback against Western medicine. And that was just unheard of at that time.
Well, can I tell you?
It was unheard of at that time, unless you were celiac, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a whole new world.
Can I tell you, it is incredibly scary when you push back against the medical establishment for the first time, because you've educated yourself. And this is something that when you start getting into nutrition and lifestyle changes, something I've talked about for 15 plus years, trying to help people become empowered with good information so that then they do feel empowered when they go see a doctor and the doctor's pushing something like a statin drug for high cholesterol. You have the courage to kind of say, but what about this? Not to kind of supersede their medical knowledge and training and experience, but to say, here's something I want to try. And this is something good for you as a patient. Even then, even before you realized you knew what you knew, you were like, hey, wait a minute, there's going to be a better way for Whitney. So I'm going to try this for me. So what do you think the pathophysiology was with the paleo diet that within 2 weeks you saw such massive improvements? Was it the elimination of foods, or was it the addition of foods, or do you think both?
Elimination, all the way. Gluten. All my life I had been eating gluten, and I was so sensitive to it. I always say I would have a completely different life if I had a lifetime of gluten-free. I just remember being in school after lunch, being very emotional, hating math, and that happened to be my class after lunch because I just loaded up on gluten at lunch, and then gone to my class. And here I thought I hated math, but really I was just feeling horrible. I was just feeling horribly. So, but the hard thing about the doctors is that I'll read and read and read and research, and my mind makes a decision that I'm going to try something, but I don't retain any of the why. I don't retain the details of the research. So I would be at the doctor and be like, I'm going to try this. And they would say, well, why? And I would say, I'm just doing it. I've just decided to do it. I don't know why. I couldn't articulate the science behind it, and that made it much harder to push back. It's just my natural attitude problem that helped me out there.
Well, and the fact that you felt so much better so quickly just with nutrition change probably opened your eyes to, whoa, there's more of a rabbit hole there than I think even my doctor realized. So I have to go down this rabbit hole. And so you dove right into the paleo world. You attended conferences. That's where you and I first met circa 10 years ago. And you've continued to evolve. What's your diet like today?
Mostly meat, some fruits of plants for nutrient density. I like berries, zucchini, squash, a lot of shellfish. Not a lot of shellfish, but shellfish sometimes, a couple times a week.
Or of North Carolina, so you're going to have some of the natural foods from
exactly
there. Yeah,
I'm spoiled that way.
Yes,
but I am lucky that I'm not immediately sensitive to foods. Well, lucky and unlucky, because I don't have bad reactions. I'm not super sensitive to a lot of things in my realm. It's been so many years that I've only been eating meat and vegetables. It was so weird for me to cut out plants and carbs even, because as you can imagine, working so closely with Paul, and my functional medicine person is also older, and they see low carb as a therapeutic last resort type of thing.
Yes.
And will never say you should try low carb, because they just have it a lifetime of therapeutic. Like it's not something the common person should be messing with.
Keto Chow is a customizable shake mix that is also perfect for cooking and baking, giving you simple, nutritionally perfect meal options. Keto Chow. Make keto easy. Discover your favorite flavor at jimmylovesketochow.com.
Yeah, they think it's temporary, and so if it's a temporary thing that you go on, but you better get off of it, because staying in a ketogenic state, for example, for a very long time, they say could be potentially harmful. So that kind of got imprinted on your head. How did you overcome those fears?
I don't know. No, I will tell you how. With a ton of support, I'm a member of the Healthy Rebellion community, which is a social network that Rob Wolf and his wife, Nikki Violetti, put together. And was only the support in that group that made me able to push through and try low carb, because I had everything from RDs to geniuses to my functional medicine person, all not shit talking. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm cursing.
You can say it. You can say shit.
Not talking down about keto, but definitely not suggesting it. Well, other people I had worked with were a little more vehement against going low carb than others, but it was not something it was always like, as long as you could just get your macros straight, then you'll feel the benefits, you'll be okay. But I was very inflamed, and my MS was flaring, which turned out to be a hormonal issue. Mm-hmm. But that was when I had to go further. Like, I tried everything. It took me a long time to figure out that it was hormones, but I did do a lot of change.
So what was the hormonal? I'm sorry. So what was the hormonal issue? Obviously, insulin being the master hormone exacerbated whatever this issue is. Was it sex hormone?
Perimenopause. Yes, sex hormones. Perimenopausal hormone disruption.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Another mental thing I had to admit to myself, that I was perimenopausal. But back to the Healthy Rebellion, the community in there made me realize that I could try for 30 days. Nothing is going to kill you to just try it for 30 days. People eat out of dumpsters for years, and I'm not going to say they're fine, but they're still alive. Yeah. You can stand 30 days of mostly meat, and no one said only eat meat. It was more, try a more low carb approach.
Right.
Like, have you considered cutting out plants? Plants are very mutagenic.
Yes.
So, and that was 3 days. I cut the plants out, and within 3 days felt remarkably better. Not everything felt better, because it was at heart a hormonal issue, and I had to get my hormones straight, which took another year. Thank you, COVID and all kinds of external things. But I did immediately feel better when I switched to a more low carb and cutting out plants approach.
And that's beautiful, because you went from safe starches and sweet potatoes, tapioca starch, with Paul Jaminay's program, now realizing that even some of those plant foods aren't serving you well. And maybe a decade ago they did serve you well, but now they're not serving you as well. And this is a lesson too, that as you're going through the trial and error of figuring things out in your health, things are going to change over time. I think sometimes we find success in one thing, Whitney, and we just think, okay, that's it for the rest of my life. That's what I do.
Unfortunately, it's not that easy.
No.
It's an ever evolving situation. And I have hopes for carbs. I eat a more carb. I refeed carbs on the weekend, because I was smelling so bad going into ketosis. Like, for my family's sake, I was like, let me just get out of ketosis. My breath was really bad. My pee smelled horribly. Like, everything was kind of smelling. And I was like, let me just try to up my carbs a little bit on the weekends. And that worked. And so now I eat carbs on weekends. And when I say that, it's not like a huge amount, maybe 75 grams or 100 grams.
Yeah. And it's it's fruit. It's not junk.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And going back to safe starches and cassava, taro, I end up being so sensitive to that. Yeah. I'm as sensitive to that as I am to gluten. And here I was all this time using that as a very main gluten substitution. And it wasn't until I went more mostly meat that I realized cannot have cassava, which that hurts.
And it's very popular within the paleo world. People still cassava. And I've tried it. My blood sugar skyrocketed. It just went cray-cray. And I'm going, that ain't good. Not for me anyway.
Yeah, it's not. I know, something so prolific. How can it be bad? Like almond flour. Can't eat a lot of almond flour. How could that be bad? It's in everything. It's like, well, it just goes back to, you can't try to replace gluten foods with gluten-free foods. Like, you can't have replacement bread, or I can't have replacement bread, can't have replacement pasta, can't have replacement cookies, all that kind of stuff.
Although I would say that fluff bread that Maria Emmerich came
Oh
up
my
with,
gosh, yes.
that's
People
pretty
are obsessed with that.
awesome, and it's 3 ingredients. So
I have not tried it yet, but I've seen tons of pictures. There's people in the Healthy Rebellion that eat it so much, have whole recipes of it, using it. I'm not that good at baking or things that require preciseness in any way, and I don't have a mixer, so someday someone's going to make me.
Help, because it won't fluff if you don't get that egg white mixture fluffy enough, and it won't poof up in the oven. But get you a mixer, Whitney.
I know. All these years I've been resisting, but I might have to finally do it.
Yes. So you're happy with your mostly animal-based foods diet. You mentioned earlier that you do include fruit, and then you have weekends where you carb up to the 75 grams carbs. Tell us what the carbs do, because I know you posted something recently about fruit and meat, and I'm going, what's the fruit do? Not that I was criticizing, I was just really curious.
No.
What does that fruit do for you?
Well, during the week I try to stay under 20 grams of carbs, but there's still room for fruit during the week, and that is nutrient density. I'm not comfortable. I've been living a nutrient density mantra for so many years. Like, I conceded to going low carb. Okay, I conceded to going mostly meat, but I just could not lose that nutrient density idea in my head. So fruit, berries, shellfish, it completely put all of that at ease. And I feel good eating the fruit. I have this like certain feeling that I get when I'm walking of balance, and that is what I felt when I started eating mostly meat, and that's my gauge of what's going on, if something's working and it's not. If I lose that feeling of balance, then something's off, something's wrong. And I don't lose that feeling with the fruit, and on the weekends I eat some chickpeas and some sweet potatoes, and I don't lose that feeling. So
I'm curious, because a lot of the nutrients that are in fruits, for example, you will find in a lot of the organ meats. And so do you include a lot of offal within your regular carnivore diet?
I don't like it at all.
You don't like offal? Is awful?
Yeah, pretty much. Repulsive to me. So I tried. I made a really good effort, and I just couldn't do it. And I was taking the Ancestral Health supplements, and I can't remember his name right now, Paul, the meat guy, the doctor. And he has supplements.
Saladino.
Yeah, Saladino. I took his supplements for a long time, and then I weaned off them, and I felt the same. And my blood work was good. So was great. My blood work is great.
Yeah.
So I just stopped with the organ meats. Although I did just learn about a spice that is made of organ meats, and I ordered that, so I'll try that. I heard that's a really good seasoning.
I use yes, I have heard of that salt as well, and plus the Epic company makes these Epic bars that are liver bars. I use this complex from Paleo Valley, who I met in the paleo world, and they put brain and heart and liver all in this like freeze-dried pills. You got to take 6 of them to get enough in there. I remember Chris Kresser always talking about freezing into little pill forms raw liver, and then you could eat a little bit of it at a time. J Watt 4B says, eat your liver, Whitney. No, I'm with Whitney on this one. Liver is kind of gross. I'm a hyper taster, Whitney. So
me too. I'm a super taster.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
So when you're a super taster, think about the iron taste for those of you that are mere mortals in your taste buds, and then imagine like 100 times that flavor in your mouth. That's what a super taster is.
Like actual blood. Like you have actual blood in your mouth.
Yes.
I do like chicken liver, and I do like duck liver. So if I see a nice pate on a menu or something, I'll always get that. And Whole Foods has a truffle mousse that I like, but I'm just not worried about eating it so much. I'll eat it when I can.
Oh, I have tried pate. I still can't muster it, so I have to hide it really well. People are like, put it in burger, it'll hide the flavor. I'm like, you want to bet?
Oh God, I just do not. I always know it's there. I tried to do that. I tried to put it in meatloaf. I tried to put it in burgers. I always taste it because I'm a super taster.
Was when I had bacon cheeseburger and then a little bit of liver in the burger. The bacon and the cheese I could still taste it, but it was at least swallowable. So.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So guys, Whitney Gray here is one of the people that reached out to me. She's a longtime friend of mine from the paleo world, and now she's eating mostly a meat-based diet with some fruit in there, and then on the weekends a little bit higher in carbohydrate to help manage her multiple sclerosis. But she was one of the ones that reached out to me when I said, hey, you got a story to share. What do you want to talk about? And so she wrote me, and I have what she wrote me. Jimmy, I wanted to come on your podcast to talk about your work. There have been a handful of people who guided my ability to control disease with diet and lifestyle for the entire time, the past 10 years plus, and you were one of them. So I want to talk about what it means to be so committed to helping others. That was intriguing because I still have the passion to want to do that. And even though, and I kind of wrote this as of the recording of this today, I wrote about this, that I kind of feel like I'm the black sheep in the keto world because I don't look the part. But I always go back to, but you can still add value to community even if you're not the object of perfection. And I think that's what's helped keep me going, is even though I'm still on this journey myself, I don't think that devalues my ability to communicate, because I got a voice, I got a platform. Why not use it?
I feel the same way, and I think you and I are similar in a sense that it's more of not a mission, but we're not doing it to make money. We're not doing it because it's kind of your career, but it's like what's it called when somebody does something?
Passion project?
No, it's like more of a religious term. When somebody does something not as a mission.
It's your destiny.
Somebody
calling.
It's not even that. I don't know, but I'm getting my health coaching certificate, and it's not because I want a new career. It's not because I need more money. It's because I want to effectively help people, and that is what I get from you. That's what I've always gotten from you, like a true core passion to just help people, especially when you see people are being underserved by the people that they trust to help them, which is their doctors, which nothing against doctors. It's just a different way of helping. A doctor is not going to, doctors don't take nutrition per se. I don't know. It's just a different situation.
You tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.
Well, and let's just even stay within the health realm, the health kind of influencer. I've never liked that term, but that's what people know. So health influencers, health celebrities, so to speak. And when I was in the paleo world, Whitney, you're going to kind of get shocked by this, but probably not. I was leading a conference, the Low Carb Cruise. I don't lead it anymore, but back when I was doing that, I would invite on speakers. And I remember asking one of the Paleo people, very prominent name, not going to say the name, but you would know who they were if I said their name. And I said, hey, why don't you come on the cruise, be one of our featured speakers? And he said, point blank, Jimmy, if I can't make a shitload of money doing what I'm doing, I won't do it. And I'm like, oh, we are two very different people. Because my purpose has never been to make a shitload of money. Would I turn it down if I made a shitload of money? Hell no, I wouldn't. I would take the money and run and be happy about that because I feel like I put in my dues. But this person's main motivation was not educating the public, was not anything more than how much can I bilk these idiots out of their money. And that really set hard on me of, wow, is that really the motivation of a lot of people out there? And I would say, sadly, yeah.
You think a lot. I think the financial gains are a minority because so much information is available for free. You have to work so hard to make some money off this because there's a huge community.
Right, but what I'm saying is this person had built it big enough that that was their motivation. I think people start, they have this aspiration of, hey, can I get big enough that I can make a lot of money? Not realizing the money could come if you provide a good service. Like for me, I worked 10 years on my podcast and blog and everything until I made money that I would say was
Sorry. The phone just is ringing off the hook. Somebody keeps calling. I got to go see what is going on here.
She's on a live interview. Stop calling.
Come on, people. So sorry. I'm technically at work, so I got to go answer.
Oh, yes, please go answer. But yes, so that's the thing. It's like, I feel like a lot of people do get into this wanting to be a star. Okay, yeah, you do some free stuff along the way. Yeah, you do all the things, but before long, you're going to have that itch to want to just monetize everything.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm lucky because I have a really good career already, so I don't have that feeling that I feel like I have to profit from this.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in celebrity in any way, so I don't feel like I have to make a name for myself or anything like that. So, I mean, I guess I'm just coming at it from a different place.
Because you're cut from a different breed. I wish my analysis was not true, but I've just seen it replicated. And here's the thing, like I have willingly helped a lot of those people when they were smaller get bigger, and then on their way up, they stepped on my head to get ahead. And, that's
so painful.
People are going to do. I don't regret any of it because the core of my heart is help people and lift people up. It always has been. And so I know I get my dues later in life because
you're building up the karma. You're just building the karma.
Yeah. So I lament that there aren't more people who are authentic and being in this for the right reason. So hearing you say that you were inspired by my work all these years, it kind of is gratifying to know that, okay, I'm doing things the right way, and somebody, at least one, Whitney, got in by that.
I recognize that. No, you, Rob Wolf, Chris Gretzer, people who have become mainstays of the community for a reason, because there's pure intention. Like, you all really want at your core to just give people a better life, have better quality of life. And that there, of course, is that piece where people, I think, are outraged that it's not already being done, that we're moving farther away from that health optimization, optimization of quality of life. We're getting farther and farther away from it. So what we're doing now isn't working. Let's change things. And there is heartache in that, and there is not exactly a lot of financial gain in that. So yeah, it takes some heart to do that.
Well, and we're seeing the landscape of healthcare even change. I remember back in the Paleo world, it was Chris Kresser who kind of started really pushing that kind of functional medicine approach that is now so mainstream. There's so many people getting involved in
Is it mainstream, or does it just seem that way to us
Okay,
because we're so exposed to it?
what I mean is it's the new alternative. Used to it was naturopaths and maybe nutrition minded chiropractors. Now when people have root causes they're looking to find answers to, they go to somebody like Chris Kresser, they go to somebody like Dr. Will Cole, they go to these functional medicine doctors who are getting to it. No, they're not the mainstream. Still MDs and the typical are still the very mainstream. When I talk about mainstream, I mean taking a market share away from some of those more traditional. I think functional medicine is that big contender to replace, at least from a chronic disease standpoint, medical doctors as the go-to place.
Yes, I agree with that. I would love to see that, and that's part of my motivation for getting the health coaching certificate, because I want to be a part of that new paradigm where there's more of a team. Because I've had a team for a lot of years. I've got my functional medicine person, I've got my physical therapist, I've got the people that I talk to about nutrition. It's a team effort for me to have this optimized quality of life. There's no one person who has told me all the things I need to know. And I think people would be better served with more of a team atmosphere. People who need help.
Oh, absolutely. And I've even called for, and I've outlined this as kind of a plan that, okay, have a traditional medical doctor, but surround him with all of these like very specialized kind of people that could run specific tests, do actual functional testing within optimal ranges rather than sick ranges, actually help people rather than just run them through like cattle. Okay, you got your checkup, okay, everything's fine, when everything may not be fine. I actually had to fire my doctor. He's about a mile down the road from here. Did this like 6 years ago because he refused to run a fasting insulin. Like, come on, fasting insulin. He's like, well, you're not diabetic. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to keep it that way. I don't want to become diabetic.
So what?
So he
Oh my goodness.
refused to run A1C. He wouldn't run the specialized particle size tests on my cholesterol so I could keep an eye on the small dense LDL. He wouldn't do any of the things I wanted. So I was like, goodbye.
Yeah.
I have enough medical doctors in my Rolodex that I can run the tests myself and then go to them if I need help interpreting anything.
Yeah. And what has it taken for you to have that at your fingertips? Do you have to be a best-selling author? Do you have to have hundreds or thousands of hours of research in the game just to know what to ask or what to want? Like, wouldn't it be nice if you could just express that interest and then have somebody that could help you right there? It would be so nice.
Right. And look, a lot of patients don't realize they're the boss in the relationship. When I asked my doctor to run the insulin, I wasn't asking him. I want this test. And then he's like, well, insurance won't pay. I'm like, it's $50 out of pocket. I will pay $50. He still refused. And that's when a doctor becomes a dictator, that you kind of have to give them the boot.
Yeah. But another thing I wanted to bring up that I'm learning a lot about is that it's not always about what has been studied, that there is value in people's personal experience.
Yes.
And it doesn't always have to be an outcome of a double-blind placebo study to be valid. And I'm learning that a lot in the Healthy Rebellion. And you've always, I feel like you've always had that attitude. And it's not easy to take that stance. Like, I'm going to go against the science a little bit and just go with, I heard this works, I'm going to try it.
Look, I think we devalue self-experimentation. We devalue the concept of N=1. I did my very first N=1 in 2007 when I heard about this low-carb bread company that was making this bread. So I thought, okay, let me get their bread. Let me get some Wonder Bread. Let me get a whole grain bread and just do them side by side, blood sugar readings at baseline 1 hour postprandial, 2 hour postprandial. And it was fascinating. I mean, it was just one of those things that you don't know until you test. By the way, it failed miserably. It was horrible. And it's a company that's still out there today promoting their low carb keto breads, and they're garbage.
And Rob Wolf always talks about testing blood sugar when you're going to try to eat carbs. They have a 7-day blood test where everybody's together. They have a protocol for doing it, and it's very interesting to see how differently people react to the same thing.
Yes.
And that makes me realize that, and it has made me realize over the past couple of years, that there is no one size fits all.
No.
There's no way to say that everybody should be eating just meat, and there's no way to say that everybody should be eating carbs or no carbs. And,
right.
You know, that was part of the problem with the Perfect Health Retreat, was that everybody had to be eating carbs. But it seemed like the right thing at the time. Like, the studies dictated that this should be working. But it didn't, and it did work for a good number of people, but not every single person had success.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
Yeah, I gained 12 pounds on that retreat.
Remember the acne? Remember the cystic acne? That is such a thing when switching from either cutting out carbs or reintroducing carbs. I always think about you because you got it like right away.
Right away.
I got it when I cut my carbs, and I got it when I went a little too high on the carbs. I had no idea. Like, where have I heard of that? I've never read that or anything. I just had to figure. I had to see you get it. A few people have mentioned it on the Healthy Rebellion. I saw it for myself, but that's not like a known issue.
No.
At all. And that's only something I found out about through self-experimentation and listening to other people.
Well, and look, we're on different levels of the spectrum of insulin resistance. And there was a study that came out like 3 years ago. 88% of the population in America has some level of insulin resistance, to very light to very, very heavy. And I even remember Chris Kresser mentioning that paleo was like a spectrum where you have very low carbohydrate ketogenic end of the spectrum, and then the kind of CrossFit athletes that could handle 250 grams of carbohydrate in a day. And that was the spectrum by which people could be on there. It did seem like over time, though, there was kind of this vilification of the lower end of that. And I was just like, I never understood.
Yeah.
Because if I need to be lower carb, why are you making fun of that?
Right. And that's a popular notion of paleo, is that it is low carb, which is understandable because a lot of people thrive on low carb. But in reality, yes, it's a spectrum. But that message gets completely lost for some reason.
Look what you drop on a paleo diet. Grains which is one of the major sources of carbohydrate. Refined sugars, those are all gone. Yeah, you replace them with maple syrup or honey or fruit and that kind of thing. And then, of course, you have the starchy carbohydrates. So by default, it's lower than the 300 average in the standard American diet. But most of the people that I hung around in the paleo world, they weren't low-carb ketogenic. They were 100, 150, maybe upwards of 200 for the really athletic ones. And so, no, I didn't see people other than myself who kind of put low carb. I guess Nora Gedgaudas did. I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Are you a fan of Brett Weinstein, Dark Horse podcast? Yeah. I am as well, but they recently lumped paleo. They recently equated paleo with low carb. And I was like, dang, why'd you do that? I was so disappointed to hear that.
Yeah, I would argue lower carb, because low carb is kind of this catch-all term, but low carb, by comparison to the standard American diet, is anything under like 300, 200. So,
well, they kind of dismissed it as they dismissed the whole thing because it was considered too low carb. And I thought that was doing it a disservice. Well, but I still like them.
And towards the end of the paleo trend being really white hot, there was kind of vilification of ketogenic that kind of pissed me off a little bit, because I'm like, you don't have to do all. Like, if you don't like it, don't do it, but don't vilify it.
Right. No, and then, I remember that.
Guess what the next big trend was after paleo? It was keto.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of like.
What are you doing for your 50th birthday? I'm so excited to find out.
My birthday is 2 days after Christmas, so nothing on the day of. I'm thinking like a big bash.
Tease like a lifestyle change or something that you're trying.
Oh, you're talking about leading up to it. So, yeah. Well, I can't reveal that yet. Anything else?
Text me and tell me. Just text me. I promise.
Let's just say it's the most ambitious thing I've ever attempted, and that includes my initial weight loss that I did in 2004. But it's something I need to do for me, and I think we all need to get to that point, Whitney, kind of this whole trial and error thing we're talking about today. We all need to try things to push ourselves to heights that we don't realize we're capable of. And I know what I'm capable of. I've proven it again and again in various parts of my work and my life over the past 17 years. And so just stay tuned.
I'm so excited to find out.
I will tell you, it will begin September the 1st. So that's new revelation. I haven't shared that anywhere. So you're welcome, world, for Whitney pulling that out of me. So
thank you.
September 1st is when it will start, and I'm promising you guys, you're going to want to follow, because I have a feeling this is something I needed to do. I don't want to get too much into it, but let's say it's going to be epic.
I hear you. I'm excited. But what you're talking about, where you have to push yourself and try something new that you know you're capable of, that's where I was when I decided to go under 20 grams of carbs per day. That's the exact spot where I was. I knew I could do it. I just was resisting. Something in me was resisting. And it was the community at the Healthy Rebellion that helped me get over that resistance. And thank goodness. But it wasn't easy. And it was a good reminder of the leap that some people are taking to just say goodbye to conventional wisdom and do that thing that you're just resisting. It takes a lot to get there. And that's what I hope to learn in the health coaching, like how to trick people into doing that.
Well, and a lot of health coaching is psychological coaching of convincing people they're capable of way more than they realize. And
making things a habit, or changing habits, changing bad habits, like the science of habit change. I'm really interested in all that and anxious to learn it.
So, Whitney, you've mentioned them a few times, and I see them here on this live. Give a plug for the Healthy Rebellion. How can people sign up?
Well, just search it. I wish I had a link or something, but I don't. But if you just type into any search engine, The Healthy Rebellion, you'll see the webpage, and you can just click on that. There is a paywall, thank God, because it keeps out the riffraff.
Yeah.
But I think when you put some skin in the game, it makes it more meaningful.
There it is.
And
join.thehealthyrebellion.com. See, I knew you would come.
there you go.
Join.thehealthyrebellion.com. There it is.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's cool. And I love Rob. I've always adored Rob Wolf and the work that he's doing. And
He saved my life. I mean, so many people can say that about him. I don't even really know anyone who has saved more lives, probably, and
Look.
doesn't even know it, or maybe does know it. But the whole community has that mindset, is like that. It's and there's plenty of disagreement. There's people who it's not a bunch of automatons who all think the same way. There's a place where there's room for disagreement. There's room for, it's just a very nice change of pace.
What? You're allowed to disagree without being censored and banished?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes people's hackles go up, but then they just come back down, and everybody at the end of the day is still friends. So it's really good.
Yes, yes. So, Whitney, how can we find you?
Well, that's why I'm not on more podcasts and I don't talk to more people, because you can't really, I've got that. What is that? My Nutrisclerosis?
Sclerosis.com.
Well, yes, I maintain my webpage, nutrisclerosis.com, which I just go on it every year and update it and say, nothing's changed. Everything's the same. Like, still cut gluten, still cut dairy. Yep, there it is. Got my tried and true recipes on there. And that's more of an autoimmune protocol oriented site. I haven't really updated it to say you could try mostly meat or anything like that. But I will soon, once I get more invested in the health coaching, like I'll be more out there.
When do you finish your health coaching?
It doesn't start till October, and then it's a year-long program, which I'm going through the Kresser Institute, the ADAPT program, which I feel like that rose to the top when I was trying to figure out which health coaching I was going to do. That rose to the top pretty quickly.
Yeah, and he's been out there for a very long time. Chris Kresser. Again, you're talking about the OGs, Rob Wolf, Chris Kresser. So these guys, they know their stuff. And so really happy you're being mentored by them. And thank you, by the way, for all the kind words you said about my work and how it's influenced you over the years. But Whitney Gray, guys, go check her out. Once again, she is Nutrisclerosis over on Instagram.
Yeah, come see me on Instagram. See me on Instagram. I'm off Facebook at this point, thanks to the Healthy Rebellion. They really helped me get off there. And so Instagram, and come see me in the Healthy Rebellion. Yeah. Do I have time to tell you the funniest story? Oh,
hang on. I want to spell out Nutrisclerosis because people
sure.
what okay. So Nutrisclerosis, Nutrisclerosis. I just love saying your So what's the funny story? And then we'll head out.
I did an announcement in the Healthy Rebellion that I was going to be on here with you. And I mentioned how you had come to the Perfect Health Retreat and we're friends and all this stuff. And in the comments, it was like, oh, I didn't realize you were her. Like, I didn't realize you were part of the Perfect Health Retreat. People don't even know that I have Nutrisclerosis on there, because it's a place where you kind of leave all that at the door. You're just, it's not your brand that's in there. It's just you as a person. And that's something that I appreciate about that community as well.
Humanizing people again, Whitney. I'm all for that.
I'm glad.
It's
so good to see you.
Nice over the years with, you're just this esoteric guy out there. We can just dump shit all over you and you just have to take it. And I'm like, no.
No. And I admire that about you too, that you stand up to all that you confront it, and you're not running away from it. You're just so real. You're just so authentic, and that's like a really good thing.
Thank you. So wait till September 1st. You watch.
I am so excited. I want to know.
But I'll call you offline so I can give you all the dirty details. But
Thank you. And please remember that you're welcome up here in Wilmington anytime.
Yes. Well,
right.
It's great. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Foods is one of the fastest growing frozen food companies in the U.S. Everything they make is nutrient dense, high in protein, low in carbs, and made from real food ingredients. They make food for every occasion: breakfast sandwiches, poppers, enchiladas, entrees, and pizza. So whether you're on a keto diet, trying to cut back on your carbs, or just trying to eat healthier, they make super convenient and tasty options. RealGoodFoods.com and @RealGoodFoods on social media.